So I'm going to use this hopefully to be more as a do as I say and not as I do, because I am bad at certain parts of meetings too. So one of the questions is, do we need a meeting, right? Do we ever need meetings? And then how do we run the meetings and decision processes? And these could be working sessions. And then how do we document the results? Today we're only going to talk about how do we know if we need a meeting, or what do we need to do to decide we're going to accept a meeting, and is there a minimum bar required before you should even accept a meeting? And I'm as guilty of this, well, in all of these as anybody. So my general feel, you actually can play two parts in this, right? You can play the part of the person who's trying to get something done, and you can play and set up some meeting, or you can be the person who's going to be responding to that request. And so I'm going to play the persona of the person responding to that request and try and figure out, right? So to my mind, every meeting needs an actionable agenda. But you know what the worst is? When you have a subject line that says PII discussion, or you have a subject line that says, some meeting for foo, and then down in it, all it's got is an invite, right? And so to my mind, first thing, man, if there's no actionable agenda, I've gotten to the point now where just decline it. And I've declined this because it's not clear what this meeting is, and there's no agenda that says that I should be involved in this, right? It is, I know it's a hard line, but man, I bet 3/4 of the meetings I have no agenda. And it is bad, right? And so let's say it has an actionable agenda. A lot of times there's an agenda, and it expects you to have some context, right? So is the context provided? Do they provide the information? Is there reading or something else so that the meeting can proceed on a schedule? And this is really bad too, man. I was in a bunch of meetings, previous employer, and we were doing some documentation or some decision, kind of rounding out the couple decisions we needed that had some risk to them. And people would come never having read the results from the previous meeting or any of the docs. And I feel like it's what you do is, if it was school, man, you'd give them an F, right? And so we ended up having to read the documents that were provided, or if they weren't provided, we had, they weren't part of that. And people were like, oh, did you read the doc that, was out there from last time? We'd end up spending 15 minutes reading the doc, and maybe that's good, right? Because otherwise you got people, everybody's pretending that they read the doc, like they're pretending they're paying attention to the meeting because they brought their laptops to the meeting and they're looking at something else. Oh, that's a different topic, right? So first of all, is there an actionable agenda? Second of all, are there background and previous decisions provided, right? Do I know enough? Are you providing enough information that the agenda makes sense to somebody, right? If the agenda was adjust the Fed rates for this quarter and there was no economic data provided, then that would be really bad, right? Because nobody would have any idea what they're basing the fundamentals of the decision, right? And so all of that to me means a decline. And what I'll do sometimes is tentative, right? But I'll put a reason it's tentative. I put this tentative because, as far as I can tell, we're not going to accomplish anything in this meeting. But I say it nicer than that. And then the last one is prioritization for your existing work. And do I need to know what's happening in this meeting? Do I need to participate? Am I a decision maker? Right? Like, I was in a few meetings at a previous employer, and after the first two meetings, nobody that was a decision maker showed up. Right? And if I'm not a decision maker, I go into in case my boss shows up or my boss's boss shows up, that's bad. But if I'm not a decision maker, I need to know, and I've actually gotten review feedback on this before, that I tend to accept a lot of meetings that I shouldn't. And that's because I'm nosy, or I feel like it's going to be a problem for me later. So do I need to know? And I didn't put a time frame in that. If I don't need to know now, and I'm probably not going to need to know later, then I probably should skip it. And if I'm not a decision maker, there's informed and, accountable, right? Do I need to be informed? Am I accountable? If none of those are true, then I got to turn it down. You got to turn it down. And only after that, you accept the invitation. So that's what I got. If there's you got to have an actionable agenda. There has to be background information provided, including any previous meeting results. And then am I interested in this? Now that I finally know what it's about, do I need to know what's happening in real time or be a decision maker for this, right? The agenda sets the success criteria for the meeting. If there's no agenda, there's no success criteria. So that's all I got. I got some other notes about how I do bad stuff and other people do bad stuff. Last thing maybe is if the agenda changes because, between the time you send it out and the background information changes, send out an update, man. Don't just assume that blank subject line and blank meeting invite, basic line. If decisions change between then, you got to update the meetings. Nobody should be afraid of updating a meeting. So that's it. Do you make sure you have why are we holding this meeting? Will we be able to accomplish anything? What's the context for it? And then personally, is it prioritized for me? Have a great day.